Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. RFK, his campaign, there's been an interesting development. I'm going to be showing you a clip of something that his vice president pick has recently said in regards to Trump. Okay, it's all very, very interesting. Now, I just want to show you guys this because about a month ago, there was a conversation between RFK Jr. and Donald Trump. Donald Trump contacted him after his debate with Joe Biden. And Trump was just saying how it would be really good for you and it'd be really big for you. And a lot of people were speculating that this conversation that they were having was Trump wanting to give RFK a position in his cabinet. Now, the reason that this made sense is because years ago, when Donald Trump first ran for president, he wanted RFK in a chief or head of a certain department, a committee that they wanted to build from the ground up together. And it was in the efficacy of children's health and jabs and things of that nature. You know, the stuff that RFK has a really strong stance on and a really good understanding of. That never happened, but they did have a conversation recently. And this is what RFK said. I'm going to show you the clip in a second, but RFK said, "I am willing to talk with anybody from either political party who wants to talk about children's health and how to end the chronic disease epidemic." Kennedy said, adding that he had a lot of respect for President Trump reaching out. So that was the conversation they had. Again, the conversation got leaked. It was not supposed to get leaked. RFK Jr. actually apologized to Trump about that. Probably gave his son quite a scolding as well. Now, RFK also said nobody from the DNC, high or low, has ever reached out to me in 18 months. Instead, they've allocated millions to try and disrupt my campaign. Very interesting stuff. So the DNC wants nothing to do with RFK. The Kennedy family wants nothing to do with RFK. But Trump, being the guy who is very intelligent, say what you want about mean tweets or whatever, he's very intelligent. He knows who to reach out to, who not to reach out to. You know, he has an understanding of who's strong, who's actually solid, especially since he's been backstabbed a few times in his first presidency. He decides to reach out to RFK. And now RFK's campaign is considering doing this. Check this out.
What my gut tells me right now is that we just have to keep being honest. I got to just keep being honest. I got to keep focusing on what matters the most outside of party lines. I need to focus on a vision that goes beyond November. And if that means that we stay in, and, you know, there's benefits to staying in. If we get over 5% of the vote, we actually establish ourselves as a party. 71% of Americans want a strong third party with a real shot at winning. There's even public funds available if we get over 5% of the vote. So we could get, I think it's like $13.5 million in public funds to keep the party going. And that's, you know, that's worth something. That means that we can position for a real third party election in 2028 where we don't have to go around and spend tens of millions of dollars on ballot access, which means that we can spend all of that time and money campaigning. So, you know, there's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not easy.
Clearly.
Yeah, not an easy decision.
Now
you can see this is very serious. She's actually tearing up. You can't see it all that well, but she's actually very emotional about this decision. And, you know, there's some things to be considered here. Now, my first reaction right off the bat, and I always acknowledge my biases. Obviously, I want to see Trump in position. I think he is the greatest choice for president that we have in front of us. Even if there were other people to choose from, I would still think it would be him. Now, my first thought is, you want a confirmed Marxist and a confirmed socialist. Tim Walz confirmed saying, one person's socialism is another person's good neighborliness. That's enough for me. That's enough for me. And that was him telling people not to back down from progressive values and, socialism. That was his take on that. So it's between those two or Trump. You run the risk of having them in office, or you join forces with Trump and help him get into office. I think the choice is very clear. You choose Trump. And listen, again, Trump is not an angel, and he's not going to do everything perfectly. No president ever has. You could be good at best, but there's never a perfect president. Never. But I would say you want to go with that. He's a step in the right direction, my opinion. But there's also the consideration of how many people, even you guys watching, how many people have wished there was a third party to choose from. That's a pretty big thing, because you never know who could fill that. You never know who could step into that. And if there was a legitimate third party, that would be pretty good for America going forward. There's a lot of people who wish they had a third choice. So you could be the people who actually have that happen. So that is something to consider. They just need 5%. RFK, every poll has shown that he has about 4 to 5%, sometimes 6 in certain polls. And it's all getting taken away from Kamala Harris. I think it's mostly getting taken away from Biden and Harris throughout this whole election cycle, and then 1 or 2% may be taken away from Trump. But it's usually more from the Democrat side. So, yeah, you need 5%. They might have that 5%. And they might want to do something where they get, a third party going. Or do you just keep going, knowing that you're going to lose, siphon votes from both people, hope that you siphon more votes away from Harris and Walz, hope that you don't hurt Trump that bad, and then at the end of it, there's a third party. RFK possibly runs again, or somebody else fills those shoes, because, RFK is not the youngest guy. You never know what could happen. Plus, he's a Kennedy. Who knows? You know what I mean? They're taking shots at Trump. They might just take a shot at another Kennedy, especially if he's a third party and he's rising in the ranks, especially because the DNC wants nothing to do with him. So there is a choice to be made. I think the choice should be that they join forces with Trump. Now, a lot of people will see this whole video and think, well, that's not really an option. That's not going to happen. She's literally weighing out those two things, and you can tell she's very emotional about it. RFK has stated that nobody else from the DNC is reaching out. He has a lot of respect for Trump, and Trump was nice enough to reach out and be like, hey, I want you in some kind of position. Now, RFK has made it clear in that clip those quotes that I just showed you. He said, whoever wants to talk about children's health, if Trump is saying, I want to talk about children's health, I want to talk about everybody's health, and I want you to be a big part of that, possibly even run that, whatever that might be, that's the thing that RFK wants. I would say if he really cares about America, when I hear the whole uniting party thing, I'm like, are you talking about one party? Because no, that's not good. So as much as people want unity, you don't want too much cooperation. In Canada, there is 3 parties. Conservative, they would be like Republicans. There's the Liberals, they're Liberals. And then there's the NDP. I don't even know what that stands for. I'll be honest, I don't. But the Liberals and the NDP started really cooperating quite a bit. And it led to the Liberals staying in power longer. I'm butchering it, but I'm just using that example as too much cooperation sometimes goes against the interests of the people. Elon Musk talked about that actually in the face of Klaus Schwab at the World Government Summit, Elon Musk was like, you should be wary of too much cooperation between, nations and world governments, because then they could all just collude together and just collude against the people. You don't really want that. So the whole thing about uniting the parties, it's a nice idea. I don't know how much that could really benefit the people. RFK also said, if Republicans and Democrats both came together and wanted to ban guns, I'd sign off on it. It's like, oh no, that's terrible. So just saying, little side note. But I will say, if RFK really cares about America and he really cares about the things that he's voiced on JRE and on so many podcasts, then the clear choice is for him to join up with Trump, take a position in the cabinet, do what he can. If he wants to run again, I get it. But, I think that's what he should be doing. And it seems like, by how emotional this girl's getting, by how emotional she's getting, that I think they're leaning towards uniting with Trump. And I think they should. They really should. And here's the thing. You might also say, well, this is just his VP pick saying this. But also, that's his money. Just so you know. RFK, very grassroots, getting a lot of those small donations from the people, of course. But when she came on board, she was a surge of money for RFK. I forget what her net worth is, but it's very high. Very, very high. She's in the tech space. I believe she was married to a tech billionaire, got a divorce, probably got some cash from that divorce. So she has a lot of money. She is the money. So she says, hey, we got to do this. RFK kinda has to listen. Doesn't really, but definitely runs out of money. I'm just saying. So, because, most people have already decided. They're either giving to Harris or they're giving to Trump. There's not much room for RFK, especially now. We're less than 80 days away from this election. The time to gather up donations is kind of passing for RFK. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about all this. I found this to be a very interesting development, especially for how emotional she's getting. She's getting really emotional about this. She was literally driven to tears near the end, So let me know what you guys think about all this. I'm standing firm in they should join up with Trump, whatever votes they're siphoning off. Try to get those people to move over to the Trump side. Stop all this nonsense with the polls back and forth. Make it so Trump has more than 50% in every single poll, so they can stop this weird illusion that they're doing for Harris, and they actually have to do things free and fair and nothing else, so we can actually have a proper president who's not being installed in office. That's just me, though. You might feel differently. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Other than that, I'm out.